I was tired of being stuck in tutorials, repeating every process and still failing to learn and finish my projects. I felt like I was running on a hamster wheel, endlessly repeating the same processes and never making any progress. Until I finally figured it out. Here are 3 things I did that helped me learn everything faster. When you're watching a tutorial, everything seems to make sense. You feel pretty good about yourself, but then when it's time to actually code, your brain turns to a bowl of mashed potatoes. Suddenly, you can't remember anything you just watched. That's where tutorial hell comes in.
This is my hell.
It's like being stuck in a never-ending horror movie, except instead of ghosts, you have an endless stream of coding tutorials. So, how do you escape? The key is to actively apply what you're learning. Don't just watch tutorials and move on to the next one. Take the time to code along with it, and then try to put your own spin on it. For example, if a tutorial shows you how to make a to-do app, try adding a new feature that will remind you to actually do the task on the list. Sky's the limit. Remember, practice makes perfect. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and learn from them. And most importantly, don't get stuck in tutorial hell. Break free and start applying what you've learned in the real world. Oh, the age-old struggle of finding programming tutorials that don't put you to sleep with basic explanations of variables and loops. Don't get me wrong, these are important concepts to understand. But let's face it, they're not exactly thrilling. What you really need is a tutorial that throws you into the deep end and forces you to learn by doing.
Do it! Just do it!
Instead of a tutorial that spends an hour explaining what a variable is, look for one that has you building a project from scratch. Imagine starting with a blank slate, and by the end of the tutorial, you have a fully functional project that you built yourself. Now that's the kind of tutorial that will get your blood pumping. When I was starting out, I spent hours searching YouTube for tutorials, but all I could find were playlists with hundreds of videos talking about basics of Go. Just when I was about to give up, I stumbled upon a video titled Learn Go Programming by Building 11 Projects by 𝐶𝐨. I was skeptical at first, could it really be that easy? But as soon as I started watching the video, I knew I had stuck code. By the end of the course, I had built 11 different projects, including a crude API, MySQL book management system, and even a complete serverless stack.
I'm God.
The point is, find tutorials that don't just explain the basics, but have you building something from the get-go. And who knows, you might even surprise yourself with what you can create. Just remember to take breaks and have fun with it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a little drum roll, please, because we're about to talk about the most important skill you'll ever learn as a programmer, how to properly Google. But here's the thing, most people suck at Googling, and that's why 99% of the people have such a hard time learning to code. It's not that they're not smart enough or because programming is too hard, it's because they don't know how to use the most powerful tool at their disposal, the almighty search engine. Here are some examples of Googling bad and good. Don't search, my C# application doesn't connect to the database. Instead search, connection refused error MySQL C#. Instead of searching for desired result like, how can I create a navigation bar that changes when resizing the window? Use technical terms and technology in your search like, responsive navbar React example. Instead of generic problems, how to fix Spring Boot errors, try searching for an exact error that is printed in your IDE like class not found exception Spring. The gist of these examples is be specific. Pretend as if you're talking to a caveman. Just put specific keywords that are relevant to your goal and issue. Don't Google as if you're talking to a human being. To conclude, learning a new technology can be an intimidating task, but it doesn't have to be that way. By avoiding tutorial hell, looking for project-based tutorials, and mastering the art of Google, you can save yourself a ton of time and frustration. Remember that programming is not just about memorizing syntax or reading a book, but it's more about building things and solving problems. So don't be afraid to dive into your first project and start coding. The more you build, the better you will become.